Hi guys, and welcome back here to the Dev Realm, and today we're gonna carry on our series. We are almost finishing everything here, which is really cool. And the episode of today we're gonna actually create the driving car logic. So the last one we did the saving thing, so we saved the car now. And what we're gonna do in this episode is that we gonna create the back wheel and the front wheel, and then we're gonna add the logic so you can actually move the car around. So to do this, what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new folder in the blueprint car parts. Let's call this folder just wheel. So we're going to create two kinds of wheels in here. Let me just move that here. I'm going to call this base wheel. That's fine. I'm going to right click. I'm going to create a children. And this time I'm going to call this the front wheel. Then I'm going to save. Oh, I don't want to duplicate that. I just want to save. And then in here, I'm going to create another children, and I'm going to call BP back wheel, right? And just to make our game look a bit nice, and we also know which one is the back and the front wheel, I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up this. I'm going to open up that. And what we need to do here is we're just gonna set the color of the wheel to something different so we know what we're playing with. So let's go back in that. So we got the basic color. Let's just browse to assets. Let's just find here. You don't need to do this. I'm just trying to find something that stands out a little bit. So I'm just gonna use those materials in here. So we're gonna bring, I don't know. So for the back wheel is going to be pink, and for the front wheel we gonna make it so is blue, right? So we know which one is the back one, which one is the front. Nice. Now there's one more thing here as well that we need to fix it, but we can do that after. So now let's browse to asset here again, and the next thing that we gotta do here right now is to save, to actually check which one is the back wheel, which one is the front wheel. So if you remember, when we attach something to this part, we do call a method in the event graph here called that we add the parts. Not this one, sorry. We do have this one here. So we have the front wheels, back wheels. So let's just add another one here on the parts. Let's duplicate. Let's call back wheels. Back wheels, nice. Here, gonna copy and paste this, add it here, plug it in the back wheel, and this was gonna come in here, right? And then we're gonna do the same logic that we did for the front wheel, but we're gonna just do this for each. Here, right? Part simulate, here, and then here. Nice, cool. Now, before we go next to the next step, there's two more things we have to do here. So the first one is to go where we have our, where's the save data inputs? No, that's the save game variables, part variables. Let's open up this. And on the back wheel, right now we are selected the default one, so let's just put the right one. So it's going to be back. Front wheel here is going to be the right one. It's going to be the front. Nice. Let's make sure that they have different categories. They do. Awesome. Now we need to go to our components here. And one last thing I forgot to do, that in the last lesson we did the loading data. There's just one little bug that we have to fix it in there, which is that when we're loading this data here, remember now that we have access to our master part here that we created, right? So right now it's messy. I know it's a little bit messy, but what I'm going to do here right now, if you remember, if you browse to this, there is a method here that we created, add, which one? API add part organizer. And we have to make sure we add all those parts, because then it's going to be much more easy for us to identify what's an engine, what's a wheel, something like this, right? So I'm going to call this API add part organizer, and this is going to ask to add this part, and that's it, right? Now what I'm going to do here is I'm gonna just create a very basic car, just a cube, something nice here. So I'm gonna do like a car like this, and what we're gonna do is just put something in the back, something very basic. Now let's press V, let's add the back wheel here. Nice. So right now we have the back wheel, and let's add the front wheel. And yeah, let's make sure we save that. Cool. Now if let's just make sure the loading's fine, which it is. Yeah, looks good. Press play. Yeah, I think what is just press play. Just make sure I have everything loading properly here. Let's double check what's going on here. Yep, just resuming here, guys. I just found the issue what was happening is because on my car body I had the simulated physics here for debugging purpose. So if I load the data, press play, I had this issue here. So I just need to remove this on my car body because I don't want to simulate anything. And now if I press play, everything should go back to normal here. So I should be able to play the car. Right, so what we want to do here is that we want to make sure we can turn the front wheel and we can have some kind of a propulsion. So for the propulsion here, we're going to use thrusters. I know it's not the right way of doing a car, but I think it's a way that we can control. For example, let's say you add 4 engines. All those engines, they give you 10,000 of power or something. So you can increase that to the thruster because the thruster is how going forward, and then you can actually do that, right? So let's do this. To do that, what we're gonna do here is we now need a way of loading, of controlling the wheels. So I'm gonna close everything. I'm gonna open up here my browse to this. I'm gonna open up the master car part, right? I'm gonna go here to the inputs, and let's check how. Let me just close all this data. So I have a lot of stuff open that I don't need to. It's just a little bit overwhelming. Now, if you go back to our modular car, to the blueprints, third person, and let's check how the Unreal Engine sets up the character. Let's see if we can copy some of this logic in here. So I can see here that we have movement components there. Let me just align this because I probably have messed this up. Right, so we're gonna copy this, copy and paste, and in here we're gonna paste that here, right? Right now, well, if you press play, this is not gonna work because this thing here that we're trying to drive, it is a palm, but it doesn't have any character settings, doesn't have anything. So we need to make this somehow drivable. So the first thing I want to do here is I want to kind of control the wheels of this car, right? So I want to see that, I want to see if I can control the wheels, and right. So I know that when I turn it right or left, and I know when I'm going forward, right? So right now I'm just gonna uncomment this for a second. I'm just gonna put it here, just so it gets out of the way. Why is it not moving up? Just gonna put it here. Right, so we know that the X here is what it controls the car. And we know that we can't really use this to do that. So let's see if we print here. Let's make sure if you can use this to do something. Let's check. So let's load the data. Let's play, and okay. So I'm pressing D. This is 1. And then here, if I'm pressing A, is doing something else. So I know that I can use that to control this. So let's see what we can do here. So remember that we have here the parts, right? And we have the body parts, the front wheels. So let's get all the front wheels here. And let's create a custom event here. Let's create a custom event. And let's call this API turn wheel. Actually, turn front wheel, right? And what we can do here is that we can kind of do a for each loop, right? And let's create another option here to say is it positive or is negative. So let's make sure it is positive, right? Is positive. Right. Let's do this. So what we're gonna do here is that we're gonna set the rotation of that. And let's see if you can rotate the actor without having to affect the wheel. Let's see if that's gonna work. So set rotation, right? And let's do the thing that we already know. So it's combined rotation. So let's get current, actually no, we need to get actor rotation here. And let's see which one is the axis that we need to use. Is gonna be Z axis. So let's say that we do 20 degrees. Let's see if this thing somehow works. So when we trigger, and this is greater than 0, create a branch. Let me just delete this because I don't need that information anymore. So if this is greater than 0, let's see if you can actually turn something. So if I load the data, nice, press play. Alright, that didn't work. I think what we have to do here is that we have to set our relative rotation. Let's see if doing this is gonna work. So what we can do here is we just for now, so let's cast to base wheel, right? Let's do that. So here, if you notice in the wheel, we have, how do we call the object? Just call wheel. Okay, let's try to do this. So we're gonna get the wheel actor. We're gonna set rotation, and I'm thinking to set the relative rotation. I think that would be best. And for this, we're gonna get relative rotation. Let's have a look if this works. If I load the car, it is kind of working, but the wheels are not really moving, right? So I can, you see, I'm pressing D here, so I can kind of control where this is going. Let's see if we can put like a crazy value, something like 90. Play. Actually, oh, it's the wrong one. Load the data, and let's see, press play. So it's definitely doing something here. So let me see if there's a best way of doing that. Alright guys, yeah, so after just testing a couple of things in here, I have found something that actually worked. So let me show you how does it look like for now, and then after we're gonna just do some improvements in here. So I'm just gonna load my part here, I'm gonna press play, and now if I press D, I can turn my wheel, right? So the thing that I have to do here, which is a little bit annoying, is that so I'm casting to the wheel part. We probably need to do it in the best way, but so for now we're casting to the wheel, we're getting the axis, and we are setting the constraint to nothing. So we are basically removing the constraint of the axis in here. And then from here, what I'm gonna do here is that I am gonna just set my location here to, let's say, you can turn to max 30. Yeah, so we can do this. Let me check. Let's just create here a branch. So if is positive, then yeah, it's 30. Then we're just gonna remove this here for now. Then if it's negative, just for now, I'm just gonna put it like this. 30. So let's put minus 30, right? So we're kind of doing that. And the way we count this is basically if it's API, if the wheel is moving, then what we're doing here is that, is it greater than 0? Yes. Otherwise, that means is negative, right? So, well, actually, I'm not sure if that's gonna work. Let's make sure that we can turn our wheels here for now. So now if I press play, load my car, press play. Yeah, that didn't work pretty well. Let's check what happened here. Just check. Is because I need to get, right, I see. So I need to, I think we just need to combine. So let's get current, get rotation. So I need to get a relative rotation. And in here, we need to split. We just need to keep whatever is the pitch and everything set up. We're just changing the yaw. Let's do the same thing for this one. Actually, let's just copy and paste. Now, paste it in here. If it's false, come back here. Plug it in there. Oh no, sorry, the wheel comes in here. And this needs that. This case here, we need the new rotation to be minus 30. And we need also to set up the wheel here. And let's see if that's gonna work. So if I load the car, press play. Yeah, you see? Really cool. So we have our wheels here kind of being set up properly, which is nice. But there is like it keeps adding the rotation. Something that I'm not really fond on that. But now we have a problem. We need to make sure that our wheel here, if nothing is happening, we set these two back to 0, right? And what I am going to do here is that if this is greater than 0, then we do that. But now, let me just do a printing here. Actually, if it's 0, then we need to do something. So if it's greater than 0, okay, that means that it's doing something. Now let's just check in here, just in case we are pressing 1. So if I press, come back here, press play. If I press forward, right. So let's do this if and else, let's make it a little bit more explicit, right? So if our X position here is equal 0, right? We're gonna create a branch. And we gonna create here a custom event. Let's go API revert rotation front wheel. Right. And right, so we're gonna get this code here again, right? And all we're gonna do here is we're gonna get this. So we're just gonna get wheel, get the wheel, which is in here. So we're gonna plug this here, we're gonna plug that here, and the rotation here is going to be 0. Because that means there's gonna be, you're gonna revert the way it was, right? And now what we're gonna do here is that if it's true, then we're gonna revert the rotation. Right, okay. Now, if it's false, we need to do something else. We need to make sure is this greater than 0, right? Branch. So if it's greater than 0, that is a positive action, otherwise it's a false action. Let's see if this works exactly how we intend to. Turn, but it's not setting our thing here properly. I'll make sure why it's not doing this. So let's check here which one is the value that we're using here on the X, because it's not resetting. Well, actually, you know what? We don't need to do all this stuff. We're kind of being really crazy here. What we can do here, just forgot about something very simple. Unreal Engine already does something here when it's completed. So what we can do here is that we call the reverse on the completed, right? So if I press C, press play, it's not. Let's check why. Let's check if it's pressing, if it's triggering this. Let's make sure that it's working. Let's play. Alright, it's not doing this. So it started. I'm going on console. Let's check if it's doing something here on console. Alright, let me just double check here. I'm going started on completed. Pretty much sure that it should. Oh, this is a bug now. Should do something that when you press the axis here. That's when it stops the triggering. I see. Okay. Let me just copy that. Well, what we're gonna have to do here, I think we're gonna have to do once we are triggering for sure. So let's go back to the other approach here. Let's just find here what exactly is trying to print here. So for example, if we press play and we press W, it's going up. So it's going forward. So 1 minus 1. So what we can do here is that if this equals 0, right? It's going to create a branch. If it's equals 0, let's see if that works. I know it's getting a little bit longer, but I think this is going to be really cool once we got this working. So yeah, so we see that's working. So on the hello here, we can get the API rotation for the wheel. Let's do this here. And if it's not equal 0, right? If that doesn't equal 0, what we can do here is this equals 1. Create a branch. If it's equals 1, then is we turning the API, the wheel to the right thing. All right. I think there's just one more thing that we got to do here. I think we need to set the constraint to false here. We're gonna have to do some cleanup after as well, but I think let me just double check the current wheel rotation here at the moment. So 0, 0, 0, everything's 0. So it's just the row. Let's just double check the right one. Yeah, 0. That's fine. Let's go back here. So we are setting a constraint here. API comes in that, doing whatever it needs to do. Let's see if that works again. So press C. Oh, did a mistake this because I press without the car there. Aha, there you go. Well, that works. It's because we need to set the constraint as well when we're doing this. Otherwise the thing doesn't allow us to rotate. And let's just do the last part here, which is really simple now. Now, if this equals -1, right? and we're gonna put it in here. It's true. Compile and save. Let's see if that works. Press play. Now, right, front, left. So yeah, as you guys can see, we kind of have a very basic rotation of wheels here. We may need to adjust the offset because it's kind of doing some buggy. And now, let me, before we wrap this video up, I'm just gonna show you guys how we can actually move this. So just so you can test and walk around with it. So now we have here our master, our master part here. What we're gonna do is gonna add here thruster, physics. Actually, let me just copy the example that I had here before, just so I don't have to keep repeating ourselves. So we're gonna copy the example that I did for the testing here. So now we have this thing called physics thruster. So I'm just gonna copy the example, and I'm gonna show how you guys can add it to your car here. So you're gonna go here, you're gonna go search for thruster, or just physics. Physics thruster. So just click on that, add the physics thruster here. On my case, I already have on my on here, so I'm just gonna paste here. And I'm gonna attach the physics thruster on my body, right? And in here, you're gonna set up everything here to 0. The only thing that you're not gonna set up here to 0 is that you see my rotation. I have currently a minus, so you're gonna put minus 180, so it's facing forward. And on the thruster settings, the strength, make sure you put 1000 or more, like put a higher number for sure. And in here you have auto activate, make sure you click that. Now I think this is gonna throw an error, but just for testing here, so if I press C, come back, press play, and as you can see, my car is kind of moving around, which is really cool. So we went from just this blocky thing to a car that actually walks around. We need to fix this the rotation issues that we got with our with our wheels here. But I think the problem with that is that we need to set up the offset here. But I think that's it, guys. You guys can have a play around with this. I think it's really cool. What I did here is really nice, the way it's working. And if you have any suggestions as well how we could have done this in a better way, which right now is a little bit buggy, but we're gonna fix in the next lesson, we can actually do this as well. So thank you very much for watching, and I see you guys in the next one.